Hello, welcome to Mountain Crypto. This is your host, Shane Ripley, and today we're going to talk about BABBs. But first, we got a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice of any kind. And I'm kind of fooling around with the live stream just to get used to some new equipment. I got a new laptop and it has a built-in camera. So I'm just kind of fooling around with that, trying to figure out how to get it going. So bear with me. I was hoping I could pull up my screen at the same time. Looks like I can do that, so that's good. So yeah, my disclaimer is I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice of any kind, and we just do what I call a down-home, family-friendly style, which you don't get on a lot of crypto channels on YouTube and such. And I'll just go over some of the things I'm looking at. I try to give my honest opinion on them. I always give my honest opinion on it, but try not to be too scathing, but not sugarcoat stuff either too much at the same time. And just kind of walk you through my pathway of what we've been looking at. Maybe we get involved in it, maybe we don't, but just to pique your interest and put some different content out there. Like I said, there's a lot of great content out there, but it's not always so family friendly. If I can update the description a little bit later, there's links on there to Coinbase and KuCoin and things like that, which when we talk about BABBs today, you'll see that you can pick that up at KuCoin if it's something you're interested in or not. It's up to you. And just check out some of our other videos. We do offer presentations and little seminars, as it were, for basic crypto 101, how crypto can be used in a business, how crypto is affecting business, and basic blockchain explanation, things of this sort. It can be tailored to your group or your organization. And that's locally in San Diego County, but we can travel throughout Southern California if the schedule meets up. So with that, we'll get right into it. BABBs, I've heard about quite a bit on some of the other streams. So, and welcome if you're in on the podcast. I'm going to try the podcast again. It's been really, I've been having a hard time with it. Keeps failing, mostly because of my connection and stuff. So we'll see how that works out. I'll try to do the podcast today. Again, we're doing it on BABBs, and we're not financial advisors. So BABBs is going to connect the global community with the ability to get into banking. It's going to allow them to be able to make payments, to participate, to have funds raised for people to lend money. And it's very interesting that there's literally billions of people that don't have access to banking in India, Asia, Africa, places like this, and probably in South America a lot too. So there's a lot of parts in the world where they just don't have any access to banking. And a lot of people just don't even have really, the identification or the means to, or even a bank within range of where they are. But yet these same areas are getting connected. They have 60% of those folks have someone in the family has access to a mobile device or some sort of access to the internet. So there's a huge market there for people who could be able to do banking. The BABBs app that they download allows them to just take a selfie, a picture of themselves, and they do biometric recognition through that picture. And also, another thing that connects a person to be able to do this banking is that someone who knows them, that is tied in with a better identification and such, could actually vouch for a person, which would also increase the credibility of their identification. The other thing that could increase the credibility of their identification, I would think, I'm not 100% sure, but just time working through the banking system would certainly get them better credibility, I would think. So it's a really neat idea. I recommend you go to the website. Their title is BABB, Everyone is a Bank, and you can get them, look that up at getbabb.com. So it's getbabb.com. Sorry, I'm drinking a lot of coffee. My kids didn't let me get much sleep last night. I got a couple little kids, and they're flipping around like sharks in our bed, bugging me and my wife. We love them, but they sure keep us up some nights. So I'm depending on coffee for fuel. So the BABBs has the app that you can download. I spent a little bit of time this morning trying to see if I could find the download. I went to Apple Apps. I tried to look it up. I didn't see it. But apparently they have the app from what I'm gathering here. And then they have a black card. The black card is just like a debit card. It'll support any currency in any country. So that's kind of new. That helps. It's a decentralized payment card is what it essentially is. So that's a really neat idea. And of course, they use blockchain technology, because the blockchain, if you've looked at some of our other videos, it's a ledger. I mean, it keeps track of things. And if you haven't done much research, guys, and you're kind of new to the environment, to the ecosystem, do some research on the blockchain. It is going to change the world. It's going to revolutionize the world. It's going to get rid of a whole lot of jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. So definitely do some research. What companies are going to come out of this as winners? That's a big conversation, and only time will tell. So if you're new to this, please be careful. It's very speculative, but there's a lot of opportunity right now. I think BABBs is an interesting idea, and it does seem to have a lot of good ideas in this. They do use AI. They have artificial intelligence it says it plays a key role in the dynamic KYC, which mitigates risk from the people-to-people or P2P transactions and helps to maintain a trustless community. And when it says trustless community, that's because, with the blockchain, they utilize something that's typically called a smart contract. And that says in that contract, if such and such doesn't happen, this then type of thing, if you're familiar with contracts, then it's not going to happen. So that's why it's trustless, because it's all built in the blockchain that, if this doesn't happen, then that isn't going to happen. So all parties are committed to making the transaction happen. So that all happens through AI. Digital ID, we talked about that. Biometrics to solve the issue of identity for people without official government issued IDs, making it possible to open a bank card account with a selfie and saying a passphrase. So this is really a cool idea. Oh, by the way, I got some Bitcoin bling just for fun. I don't really wear jewelry except, my wedding ring, which this is my work wedding ring. It's some turquoise that I got. I actually made this ring. I wear this for fun today. The market's been going up, except for this morning it dropped down a little bit. And maybe we'll talk about the market real quick on the end here. I've got some interesting news about the SCE. Everybody's talking about the SCE and Goldman Sachs, so maybe we'll talk about that. But back to BABBs. They have some really cool use cases. They're working with a freelance designer, for example, and they don't have use to a bank account, so the remote clients can't pay him. So he downloads a BABB app and opens an account in a few seconds and doesn't even need to leave the house, and now he can get paid grow his business. So another situation here is a gal here is an architect and is decided to diversify her investments by funding microloans. She loans a certain amount of money to Paulo, who has taken in a new project and has to hire people to help him. The fees Paulo pays are far higher than the savings interest Miranda would earn with her bank. So it helps him get things going and helps her get a little bit more interest than what she would get in the bank. And then they got another scenario here, George, who's a farmer who receives several $100s per month from his son, who lives and works in Boston. He receives a payment into his BABB account, which is faster and cheaper than transacting it any other way. So these are some actual use cases. This format is in place according to their website. So let's take a look at a little bit more information here. I want to look at their roadmap. If you go to their page, they have the BABB. They have a page on the BABB app. They have one on their block card. They have one on the technology, and they have the roadmap. So we'll take a look at the roadmap here real quick and see what's going on. In 2016, they applied for a couple of patents. One was for a bank account being able to be used with facial recognition biometrics. Another patent was for opening a bank account using voice recognition, which is also part of that biometrics structure. And they had some seed funding of $1 million. In June of 2016, roundabout, somewhere between June and November, they moved in level 39 incubator, 1 Canada Square, Canary Wharf in London. You know, a lot of companies that are doing crypto register in London, and just some of the research I did, that's not necessarily guaranteed that it's safe. There are some scam companies that have opened up offices in London. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not good or bad one way or the other, but that's where they went. Their biometrics has been tested in November, December. They started their MVP development. The UX of the app was designed. They applied for a patent for a prepaid bank card, smart card. Moving into 2017, they started the financial model and investor business plan. About the middle of the year, they moved to a new office, growth space, 42nd floor. They continued on their MVP development. Around September, they filed an application for 2 more patents. One was a unique bank account based on blockchain technology, and then microeconomic digital currency issue and exchange protocol. Right at the end of the year, they had their black card concept design. 2018, they had their pre-sale, and around the middle of the year, somewhere between February and November, they had their token sale and their app launch. So that's still forthcoming. The app launch, that's probably why I can't find it. It isn't there. So when I was reading it, it seemed like they had it. They had a use case. I don't know how they have a use case. Maybe they're just saying this is what a use case could be. So maybe it's not an actual use case. So that's kind of a bummer. Second phase of the token sale is going to be in the end of the first quarter, second quarter. So that's already happened. Release new features on the BABB app. No, that won't happen until 2019. I'm sorry. So second phase of token sale is in 2019. Second quarter 2019, new features on the BABB app. They'll be implementing and using social KYC using AI and behavioral biometrics by the third quarter of 2019. So as far as the token goes, you can get this on KuCoin. And I do have a referral link on my description. It's not on there right now. I'll have to go back and set that all up a little bit later. But you can go there if you're interested. I think it's a good product. I think it's a really neat idea. I'm putting a few bucks into this myself. And if you've looked at my, you've looked at my past videos, you'll know that I talk about laddering And if you're new to crypto, I would just say stay with some basic coins for a while. And if you don't have time to really invest into this, at least checking and keeping up with the market, on pretty much daily basis, so you can see how it goes up and down, to see if you have the stomach for it, because some people don't. And they say when the blood's in the street, that's the time to buy, and when everybody's buying, that's the time to sell. So right now, everybody's in the crypto world has been kind of, oh man, the market's down, and then it's picked up the last few days, and now it's starting to take a little drop again. But that's just the way it does. It's up, it's down. It's very speculative. It's easily to be to go high or low. But the thing is crypto is here to stay. The blockchain is here to stay. The ledger is here to stay. Which ones of these companies will shake out? That remains to be seen. There's been a lot of news lately about banks. You have like a lot of companies are down on crypto. You have Apple saying they're not going to support any crypto stuff with their apps. You have, or on the iPads or on their iPhones. You have Bank of America. There was a negative article. Bank of America. You have Goldman Sachs, or not Goldman Sachs. You had I can't remember, but one of the major investing firms talking bad about crypto. We have all these different talking heads. Bill Gates has been negative on it at times. Some of these other mobile, these millionaires, billionaires have been kind of negative on it. And the banks definitely, when they hear about something like this with BABB, they don't like that. They would like to capture that market. And if BABB can get in there and capture the market from people that don't have access to banking, this could be really, really huge. Even though you think, oh, well, they're poor people, they only have a few $1,000s a year is all they have. And compared to my currency, they still need to do business, just like anybody else. They're still living in a modern world, just like anybody else. They still want to prosper just like anybody else. So this is going to be a really great innovation. And if you look at the team, you'll see that there's a really worldwide team. They're from all over, and they are in this market, and they know that they found something that is really a niche that needs to be filled. So the banks are not happy, but they're going to have to find a way to make money off of this. I'm sure they're already looking into it, but I don't think they got on board quick enough, and that's why they're still fighting it. They have a lot of power through the media and whatnot. But you look at all the positive stuff. Wall Street, the worldwide community, you, myself, of investors are pushing this forward. Wall Street is going to happen. In Wyoming, they have decided that Bitcoin and Ethereum, just like was decided, is not going to be traded as a security or treated as a security. So ICOs are retooling to achieve this SCE compliance because American dollars and Wall Street investors have not really poured into the market yet, and the amount of money that's in the cryptocurrency world right now is really small when you take and compare it to like Apple. Apple does, I don't know, billions of dollars, in their revenue and their market capitalization. So, what the market capitalization is now is just a few billion, and it's really just a drop in the bucket of what it's going to be. And when these investors get into the market, it's really going to crank the price up of these coins and tokens and Bitcoin and all that. So I would highly recommend, if you've been looking at cryptocurrency, to at least put some of your extra money in there and try to buy on the lows. Right now, I would say today is kind of a low. The market has kind of found its, I don't like to say stabilization, but it's found its kind of point of where it's going to ride on a low. It doesn't mean it couldn't drop in half tomorrow, but there is trends that you can look at if you go to coinmarket.cap, coinmarket coinmarketcap.com. You can pull up Bitcoin and look at the, how much it's risen over the time period, and all of the coins kind of follow the same little pattern. But back to the SCE, they're giving positive signs for investors, and they're poised. You got Fidelity is hiring a cryptocurrency person to basically head that when they move into it. You got Goldman Sachs moving into it. You've got a lot of large banks. I just did a video a few weeks ago going into some detail. You got Wyoming. It wants to be the hub for cryptocurrency, and you're going to see a lot of stuff come out of there. I'm going to be watching Wyoming. Almost wished I lived there right now at this point. But you're going to see a lot of stuff coming out of there, I think. There's a company, this article that I have on cryptobriefing.com was written by Andrew Ancheta, and that was on the 19th. He says here there's several projects that are seeking approval from the Security and Exchange Commission. And he says that, there's a shift where some of these currencies and tokens they're looking for regulatory oversight. They're looking because that opens it up to the investors, right? If they know that there's some sort of regulation, then they're likely to go ahead and do that. So this kind of door is Blockchain Assets AI. It's a Wyoming corporation that plans to issue a SCE compliant token backed by an actively managed asset pool. So I'll definitely be looking that up real soon and seeing what that is. It says their token, which is the Numium, N-U-M-E-U-M. It's just like owning a piece of a crypto hedge fund. The Numium Wealth Fund will invest income from the ICO into regular investments like stock and real estate. These will be managed by professional traders, computer algorithms, hopefully making Numium as safe as investment as any in crypto, probably more so, really. Blockchain Assets says that it has thoroughly researched U.S. security regulations, hired consultants, and conferred with SCE. The company believes that this U.S. compliant model will become the template for future ICOs, it said in its press release. So here they are. Right now, they're only accepting contributions from accredited investors. I guess they're trying to play it safe. But if their registration is successful, they will be able to offer legal securities to the entire U.S. market and become one of the few ICOs to do so with the blessing of authorities. So I'm definitely going to be watching that one, guys. Another company, the Praetorian Group, which I'm probably slaughtering the pronunciation. It's Praetorian Group, is currently seeking a regulatory green light for what can be described as land-backed cryptocurrency. According to the white paper, this Praetorians, I think it's Praetorians, ICO profit will purchase and operate income-producing properties that include office apartment buildings, warehouses, condos, shopping centers, and will be used as a asset backing for their token. So this is kind of like a REIT, a real estate investment type of a deal here is what it sounds like. Because real estate tends to go up with inflation, the company predicts that their cryptocurrency will be reliable, hard for investment. So if you've ever been in real estate, the way they teach you is the value of land never goes down. The property and the improvements on it go down, the surroundings go down, but the theory is the value of property never goes down because they're not making any more land, right? So we know sometimes things do affect the price of real estate, but when it comes to land, that's usually pretty accurate. It's not 100% accurate, but that's usually pretty accurate. Land always goes up over value in general. So they feel like that's real stable, and that will help keep the price of their crypto token very level. And I agree with that thinking. For the most part, that should be true. So it says in the past, some initial coin offerings have wanted to skip regulation by giving tokens of future utility representing non-investment values such as storage, processing power, yet to be undeveloped ecosystem. However, the SCE has made it clear utility does not matter so much as intent. So the fact that most people would reasonably treat such tokens as investment contracts puts them in a bad position. So that's, that's the thing. A utility does not matter so much as the intent. So when they are building a business like this, it looks like it might just make it through the SCE's testing and regulations so that it would be okay. Other offerings like Kodak Coin have sought exemptions from security laws which restrict investments from everybody except wealthy accredited investors. Other offers have avoided the whole mess altogether by explicitly closing their token sales to American investors. So, excuse me. Initial coin offerings are still a firing line for regulation, and there's no knowing when the SCE will start pulling the trigger. Several warnings shots have already been fired over non-compliant ICOs. So there's no guarantee that any of these will be a good investment. And they have just as good a chance as any other cryptocurrency as becoming the next Alta Vista. The article continues here. But I think, keeping an eye on these projects would certainly be beneficial. Anyway, I hope this went through. I'll have to go back and fix the description, and I'll put our links on there. And if you could subscribe and give us some feedback, we can handle some negative feedback as long as it's, put down nicely. I'm not a professional, and again, just trying to share what we're finding, what we're doing. I've been doing this for a while, and do it in a family-friendly format. So with that, I'm your host, Shane Ripley. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain Crypto. Over and out. As soon as I figure out